สวัสดีครับเพื่อนๆนักลงทุนทุกท่านครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการ TraderKP นะครับคืนนี้นะครับพิเศษสุดๆนะครับเพราะว่าเรามีแขกรับเชิญต่างชาตินะครับมิสเตอร์วอร์เรน Redlich นะครับคุณวอร์เรนเนี่ยเป็นนักลงทุน Tesla มานะครับนานแล้วนะครับตั้งแต่สมัย2017นะครับ18ช่วงนั้นนะครับก่อนที่หุ้นจะขึ้นมาหลาย10เท่าเนี่ยนะครับแล้วก็ถ้าใครได้ติดตามเทปก่อนหน้านี้นะครับผมได้พูดคุยกับคุณวอร์เรนแล้วนะครับว่าทำไมเขาถึงเป็นนักลงทุนTesla All In Investor นะครับคือลงทุนในหุ้นตัวเดียวนะครับใครอยากฟังเหตุผลนะครับแนะนำให้ย้อนไปดูเทปนั้นนะครับแต่ว่าคืนนี้เนี่ยเราจะชวนคุณวอร์เรนมาพูดถึงสถานการณ์ปัจจุบันนะครับที่ทำไมวันนี้เนี่ยหุ้น Tesla เนี่ยร่วงลงมากว่า 40% แล้วนะครับในปีนี้นะครับแต่ว่าเรื่องราวต่างๆที่เราได้ยินในข่าวมีดราม่าหลายๆเรื่องเนี่ยนะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะมาเจาะกันทีละเรื่องเลยนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของ management ออกนะครับเรื่อง Tesla เปลี่ยนแผนไป Robotaxi นะครับเรื่อง earning call ที่จะมาถึงนะครับหรือว่าเรื่องของCybertruck หรือว่าแบตเตอรี่ 4680 ต่างๆนะครับเดี๋ยววันนี้นะครับมาพูดคุยกับคุณวอร์เรน Redlich นะครับผมแนะนำให้ทุกท่านนะครับถามคำถามเข้ามาเลยนะครับเพราะว่าเซสชันนี้เราจะมีการถามคำถามไลฟ์ขึ้นมากับคุณวอร์เรน Redlich นะครับแล้วก็เป็นโอกาสที่ดีมากนะครับที่เราจะได้ยินมุมมองจากนักลงทุน Tesla มืออาชีพจากต่างชาตินะครับที่เป็นผู้เชี่ยวชาญในการลงทุนมาหลายปีนะครับแล้วก็ตัดสินใจมาลงทุนหุ้น Tesla ในวันนี้นะครับเอาละครับเพื่อไม่เสียเวลานะครับMay I welcome Warren Redlich up to our live channel, please? Hello, Warren.
Hello.
All right. Actually, today we're going to be discussing a lot of things on the current situation of Tesla. I just introduced you to the viewer that we've talked about your background on Tesla investing on our channel already to go back and look at that tape. But today we're focusing on the current situation, the current share price that has been dropping 40% this year, underperforming the S&P 500, and as well as the upcoming earning calls. All right. But I would like to start off with a very what's it called? Current situation question. Because tonight, Tesla falls another 2% free pre-market again because the news of the Cybertruck that's going to be have to, get something fixed. I believe. Are you up to date on that situation?
I think there's a problem with the pedal, and I think it's already resolved. So I'm not aware of a current problem with Cybertruck. There was
Cybertruck recall.
There was a minor issue with the accelerator pedal, and as far as I know, it's already fixed, and they're already shipping new cars out. I mean, I just literally just one of the guys I follow who's been complaining he hasn't he hasn't gotten his order yet on his Cybertruck, and he just said, okay, they just gave me a delivery date. So I think this was like a 1 or 2 day thing. And it's like anything that happens with Tesla, there's a recall on 3,000 vehicles and people freak out. When, Toyota has a recall of 500,000 vehicles, nobody cares.
Okay. I understand because maybe some worry. Okay, I got the headline. Tesla recall almost 4,000 Cybertruck. I mean, we're not worried about Toyota because, they've been doing that for all their models, right? We're used to it. But on the Cybertruck, the real argument might be since it's new, it's like the first batch, and you already have recall. That's no issue for you.
No, first of all, Cybertruck is not material to the company. Are we talking about Tesla as a company, Tesla as a stock? Are we talking about like arbitrary news story that isn't really a big deal, but everybody's making it like it's a bigger deal than it is? 3,900 Cybertrucks. First of all, this is the start of the ramp. It's typical for Tesla to have trouble at the beginning of the ramp, to have, minor issues that get resolved. No one died. No one was injured. No crashes. There's a little issue with one feature of the vehicle, and they've already fixed it. This is like tiny stuff compared to, much bigger things that happen around the world. But, when you're in the Teslaverse, everyone panics over everything.
Okay. All right. So we'll skip the Cybertruck for now, and hopefully there's no more issue coming on with the recall on this.
But wait a minute, like Kim Kardashian is posting pictures of herself with her Cybertruck. Kanye West was just spotted with a Cybertruck. All these celebrities have their Cybertrucks, and we're getting all this public attention for all these celebrities driving the coolest car on the road. And there's a minor problem with the pedal. Tell me someone was hurt. Tell me no one was injured. No one was hurt. There was no crashes. It's a little thing. They got it. but like anytime there's anything that might be bad news, we all have to panic. Panic. Okay. At least this one's actually a real recall. Usually the Tesla recalls are software, fixed with the over-the-air software updates, and everybody panics over that.
Okay, that's why I bring it up, because it is a real recall that we've had in a while. So, but yeah, okay, faulty pedals.
It's not even 4,000 cars. They're gonna sell like 1.8 million cars this year, 2 million cars this year. We're worried about 4,000.
Okay. All right, so let's move on, because prior to this live stream, I've asked some Thai Tesla investor to drop some questions, and we have one from Mr. Egapop, which is one of the member of the Tesla Investor Thailand. It's quite a heavy question, but I think we can start off with this, and then you can take it on and share your thoughts, Warren. It's about robotaxi plan that's coming on August 8th, which we should be discussing anyway. His question is, if robotaxi is actually coming soon, shouldn't Tesla maximize the output of 3 and Y, because they can be used for the 2 or more people robotaxi right now? The production currently is well below capacity. We know that Shanghai, Berlin, and Texas is not fully ramping. So shouldn't Tesla be starting off the robotaxi with 3 and Y?
So I don't know. We don't know their long-term strategy. Like, I think their long-term strategy should be to build their own fleet. And I don't think this is a crazy idea. The problem is that if you build 1 million robotaxis, you build 1 million Model 3s and Ys, what's the CapEx on that, right? Let's say it's $40,000 a vehicle. That means you're putting $40 billion into your fleet. And we only have $30 billion in cash. So that would be a pretty aggressive bet. Like, they're already making it. We're going to see on August 8th, I think. We may hear it in the earnings call, but we're definitely going to see a lot more on August 8th. What exactly is the plan going forward? Are we going to know what the plan is going forward? Is it going to be a Tesla-owned fleet? Do they have fleet partners that they're lining up? Are they expecting to rely on individuals putting their cars in the fleet? I guess the question is, supposing Tesla maximized the output of 3 and Y, is the person asking the question suggesting that Tesla make the cars and hold on to them, or Tesla make the cars and sell them at a lower price point? I'm not sure. I think that this is one of the big things for the earnings call is what Elon is probably going to address some of this, not necessarily that specific question, but he's going to address some of this, and that will give us some idea where we're going. And I think that's, and my expectation is that if he answered like that, Wall Street would panic. That's not an answer Wall Street wants to hear. We're tying up a whole bunch of capital in cars in the anticipation that they're going to be robotaxis. I don't think it's necessary that Tesla do that. And I don't tend to worry about maximizing revenue and profit in 2025 or 2026. I'm concerned about what's Tesla going to look like in 2030. And so making a few extra vehicles or 1 million extra vehicles this year isn't going to move that needle for 2030. So for me, like, if you're thinking long term, that's not necessary. And really, my guess is that the next generation vehicle, the robotaxi vehicle, will be a much more efficient way to deliver rides. And the profit on a robotaxi model will be so much higher than on a 3 or Y that it will make more sense to do that. And the existing 3s and Ys that are in the hands of private consumers will probably be sufficient to take the load of larger numbers of passengers. By the way, I'm not convinced that the robotaxi vehicle will be 2-passenger. A lot of people think it will be a 2-passenger vehicle. I think it's going to be 4 or 5-passenger. I think that they just kind of disclosed at Investor Day that it's going to have a 53 kilowatt-hour battery pack. I don't think
4 to 5 people on a smaller platform, though, right? On a newer platform.
I think something like a Toyota Corolla size, Corolla or Corolla Cross size vehicle. That's my gut hunch of what they're going for. But I think they're going for, Model 3 is like 4.6 or 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which is around 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour. And I think they want to get to, 6 miles. I mean, I'm just speculating here. So I think that the gains you get from going from 4 passengers to 2 are not that great unless you make it narrow. So you reduce the frontal surface area of the vehicle and you really reduce aerodynamic drag. If you're going to have it be the same width and roughly the same height, you're going to have the same aerodynamic drag, whether you're 2-passenger or 4-passenger. That's a big chunk of the efficiency. So for Tesla's purposes, I don't think they gain that much by going to 2 passengers. I could be wrong.
It would, to me, it wouldn't make sense to go for 2 too, because if you're traveling, with a family, medium size, right? I mean,
well, that's what the Model Y and 3 are for. When somebody if 80% of rides are one person and 90% of rides are 2 people or fewer, then it does.
Is that actual data?
I think that's data in the U.S. I don't know that that's data in Thailand. I don't know that that's applicable around the world. And I think if you're making a car for around the world, and I think Americans are a little less likely to get into a 2-passenger vehicle. I think it's much more likely to be something. And our goal is to be less wrong. I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. I think it's much more likely to be a 4 or 5 passenger, like a 4-passenger vehicle in the U.S., which is a 5 or 6-passenger vehicle in Japan, right, where people are really thin.
Yeah. Let me break it down because I think, like you said, Elon is going to make a lot of things clear in the earnings call. Whether or not the Wall Street will like it, we'll talk about it. But let me break down this question from Ekapop because I've chatted with him on the chat, so I know what he's trying to get to is, for example, forget robotaxi for now, but with the current capacity that Tesla are running, reduced capacity in Shanghai, reduced capacity in Berlin, not full capacity in Texas, Cybertruck ramping up in Texas. Is Tesla going to be financially okay in this earning call if the sales number is not picking up? Warren,
well,
let's talk
financials. They have $30 billion in the bank. So one of my wild guesses, and their only wild guesses, is that Elon is basically going to say, listen, we're getting ready for the robotaxi world. We're now convinced that it's coming fast. And we are going to sacrifice margins. And we're going to do stuff that Wall Street isn't going to like in order to make ourselves ready for this next phase of growth. And, we have $30 billion cash in the bank. We're going to go basically to zero margin. And that will freak out the Gary Blacks of the world, right? But we're going to go to zero margins they're doing, the question is, they're basically planning to pivot the company towards the robotaxi model and probably the Optimus model as well. And that changes how you do things. And, in that future world, there may already be too many Model 3s and Ys for what's needed. Or at least if they go on current output and current sales. But the problem is you got $30 billion in cash. You don't want to tie up too much money in producing vehicles you don't sell. But would they increase production and sell vehicles at a lower price and take the near zero margins? Maybe. Would that make investors happy? Would that make Wall Street happy? But in terms of financial, look, they got $30 billion in the bank. They're probably going to be cash flow positive, so the cash pile is going to grow. If you're worried about the long term, it's not like they're at risk of going bankrupt, right? It's just a question of how long does it take to get through the current difficult economic times and waiting for the robotaxi network to go live. And, I don't think the robotaxi network, I still have hopes that we're going to see the beginnings of a robotaxi network this year, but it's probably next year that we see beginnings of a robotaxi network. And it probably doesn't go to significant scale until 2026. If we're lucky, it goes to scale in 2025. But as soon as you have any kind of robotaxi operating anywhere, Tesla robotaxi operating anywhere, and you're able to start saying, here's the revenue, here's the profit from this system, and here's where we're going. Now all your Wall Street analysts have something they can model. I can model it now. Stephen Mark Ryan can model it now. James Stevenson, James Dauma, a bunch of us can model it now. But Wall Streeters are apparently incapable of modeling something that's obvious because we already have the Uber model, the Lyft model, the taxi model, and you just take out the driver and you have a more efficient vehicle and you can do the math, right? So for whatever reason, Wall Street can't do that. So I think as an investor, what you're waiting for, if you're worried about short-term share prices, you're waiting for when Tesla has something that actually shows here's the business model, and like not just saying it because Elon said it at Autonomy Day, but showing the business model, laying it out, here's what we're doing, it's actually operating. Once it's actually operating and it becomes apparent that Uber and Lyft and taxis can't compete with it, then you would expect Wall Street to start modeling it. But right now you've got I call them Dan Ives, and most of the Wall Street analysts, and they don't get it. They don't see it. They're like, there's a Goldman Sachs report, and like, well, we think it might be slightly additive to value in the next 5 years. And like, they like, it's surprising that when you look at Goldman Sachs or these guys are often the best and the brightest. They're like high grades in university, and they went to these top MBA programs. They're supposed to be really smart, but they look inside a box. They don't know how to look out. It's not even really outside the box. They've got this is how you analyze stocks, and they can't imagine analyzing a stock based on some, like, these are the guys who would look at the iPhone in 2008 and say, oh, this isn't going anywhere. Oh no, the competition is coming. Nokia and Motorola are coming for them. Like,
Let me dig down to the financial a little bit before we move on, and then let's talk about longer terms, and then maybe the thoughts what Elon's going to say on earnings call. But the reason why I ask is because with the reduced capacity, obviously the margin is going to be dragged because of the cost. But right now, Wall Street is estimating 60 cents earning this quarter, whereas this number used to be near $2 back about early 23, so about a bit ago. But what do you think with the big delivery miss in Q1? Now they reduce their earning down to 60 cents. Do you think this is enough to bypass the short-term pressure, or you still think there's going to be a surprise downside, or even to the negative side?
Well, okay, so I don't know what you mean by short-term. So I'm not a guy who worries about the share price.
I understand.
Right? If you're worried about the share price,
I'm not trying to translate into the share price movement. Sometimes you have a miss.
If you're telling me but if you're telling me that Tesla is going to continue to be a profitable company in incredibly difficult economic times, well, where's the problem? I think we can all agree that we've got difficult economic times. I mean, Thailand has economic growth issues, right? Thailand has problem finding jobs for all the college graduates. America has all kinds of economic problems. The world has all kinds of economic problems. There was some conflict in the Suez Canal that hold up car shipments. You've got a war in Ukraine. You've got a conflict in the Middle East. You've got America printing money like there's no tomorrow. The interest rates are high. That's slowing up a lot of things in the United States. There's a lot of economic headwinds, and it's not just affecting Tesla. BYD's sales in Q1 really tanked too. So I think people, if you're telling me that Tesla's still going to be profitable, what are we even talking about? We're in like really, really difficult economic times, and Tesla is making money.
Understand.
Like, would you rather invest in a company that was losing money in really difficult economic times? I don't know. Would you want to invest in a company that's losing money in good economic times? They've been making money consistently for quarter after quarter for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 quarters. And, there's ups and there's downs, but, I suppose you could worry that the economy is never going to recover. The global economy is never going to recover. Well, if that's the case, then I don't think Tesla stock is your biggest concern. Your biggest concern is that the global economy is screwed and we're all dead. So is Tesla going to beat 0.6 cents earning this quarter? I don't make forecasts about it. I actually don't watch earnings per share. I don't care about earnings per share. I care about long-term earnings per share. And I think, this quarter, like I'm not a this quarter guy. I don't worry about this week. I don't worry about this quarter. I'm thinking 2030. Where are we going to be in 2030? And FSD is making great progress, and that is pushing us towards a great 2030. Manufacturing looks like it's doing really well, and that's pushing us to a great 2030. Energy storage has been growing. That's a positive for 2030. I did see that CATL and BYD have some energy storage devices that are now more competitive with Megapack, but I don't know if their software is this competitive. We'll see. But, even so, like the demand for those things is so off the charts that it's just a question of making enough and finding getting the contract signed. So I feel like there's so many good things happening for Tesla. The company And so many people are focused on, but the stock is down. Okay, well, the stock was down to 100 not that long ago. We're up 50% from the bottom. I don't know.
Okay, I understand, Warren. Thank you. That will be my last questions on short, sort of like short term or things that affect the share price. Short term, I understand you're more a long term guy. So we have about 800 people watching live now, nearly 1,000 people from all the platforms from all over the world. YouTube and Facebook in Thailand, as well as on X from all over the world, because Warren's followers as well. So hi to everyone. We started to get a lot of questions coming in from Thai investor now, Warren. So why not? I'll pass on to them to ask you questions, because most of them are more long term, and I think some quite a serious question too as well. So I'll start with Mr. Charlie here, asking through YouTube. He's asking, do you still think Tesla manufacturing is still the advantage after seeing the other Chinese manufacturer deliver car at lower cost, lower price? Well, lower price, yes. I'm not sure about the cost. Maybe you can break it down, Warren. Is Tesla still the manufacturing king?
I think partly the question is misguided because it assumes that the competition is other EV makers in China. The competition is gasoline car makers around the world. And Tesla makes better cars than EVs in general, if they're good. If somebody else makes, Tesla cars are better than gas cars. If somebody else makes an EV that's better than a Tesla, as long as Tesla is better than gas cars, we're still fine. But with that said, I think that there's certain innovations that are happening in Tesla that are game changing, and we're going to see it. You have the gigacastings, and yes, some people copied that. We went to 48 volt. As far as I know, nobody else has gone to 48 volt yet. We got steer by wire and Cybertruck. We know that's coming in the next generation vehicle. I think there's a lot of advantages to Tesla. And then, you say, well, these other companies are making cars for less than Tesla. As far as I can tell, the BYD Seal is about the same price as the Tesla here in Thailand. So I'm not convinced that, I don't know who these companies are that are making cars that are less expensive than a Tesla that are comparable. I think there's was it Xiaomi? There's a Chinese phone manufacturer that started making a car. Have they ramped at scale? Do we know whether they're just losing money like crazy on each car? I think people have this idea that, and look, the Chinese are very competitive, and Elon has said that. But we need to replace a global fleet of 2 billion vehicles. And if Xiaomi comes along and makes, 5 million vehicles a year, we need to make like 50 million vehicles a year for, 40 years to displace all the gas vehicles, right? So it's going to take a while, and there's plenty of room for others to make vehicles. But, my sense is that what we're going to see with the next generation vehicle platform is a radical improvement in manufacturing. Less paint, they're going to stop using silicon carbide and rare earths, or at least reduce them. Probably going to lithium iron phosphate, which is a lower cost. Probably going to find ways to get more efficiencies, 48 volt, steer by wire, drive by wire, whatever. I think all those things are going to come together, and Tesla's manufacturing. And then when they manufacture in China, their manufacturing costs will be lower than the Chinese, because they'll have the manufacturing advantages plus the low cost of labor in China. One of China's big advantages is their labor costs are low, but not that low, probably not as low as Thailand. So am I making sense there?
Yes, but on Thailand, we can talk more in details. Is not cheaper than China. Yeah.
Thailand's labor cost is not lower than China?
No. Yeah. I think cost of manufacturing in Thailand is not as well. There's electricity wise and a lot of other costs. So in the end, we're not. We maybe not. Yeah.
No. Maybe the average, the minimum wage in Thailand is $10 a day with like 360 baht a day or something like that. A recent college graduate will make like 15 to 20,000 baht a month, maybe 25,000 or 30,000 if they're particularly good or lucky or whatever. There's exceptions to that, but I think 15,000, 20,000 baht a month is not unusual for a college graduate. There's people making less than 15,000 baht a month. What does a laborer in China make in a factory? I don't know. I think it's less than $500 a month in Thailand, which is like less than $6,000 a year for labor cost. I think Chinese labor costs are probably higher than here. Right?
Yeah, I think so too.
But they have a great supply chain that Thailand doesn't have yet.
For sure, that's for sure. That's the advantage. But Warren, let me dig down to Mr. Charlie question, because on the manufacturing, I understand that BYD doesn't use the same method of manufacturing as Tesla. They still have many factories, right? They don't have one gigafactory like Tesla. So I believe Tesla maybe is the leading in terms of cost compared to BYD, but Xiaomi, the one you mentioned, there's a recent video they did a fly through on their manufacturing, and I think the way they filmed the drone, I'm not sure if you've seen it.
It looked like they were flying through Giga Berlin.
Yeah, it looks like they probably got some idea from somewhere from Tesla. But yeah, want to get your thought on that after you've seen that video. Has your thought on that competitive advantage of manufacturing of Tesla changed after seeing that video?
Well, no, and again, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I hope Xiaomi succeeds at manufacturing EVs. Like, it's one thing. Look, they've got a factory. How many cars have they sold? I think the answer is 0, right? Am I correct that they've sold 0 cars?
So,
Xiaomi.
I don't think that delivered, but they have ordered. I think they got over like 100,000.
Yeah, well, like, call me when you deliver 1 million cars and we can talk.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, you did a nice video inside your factory, and you talk big and you say you're going to charge this much for a car with these specs. Deliver the cars.
Okay.
Let's see what happens when they deliver the cars. I mean, do they make the best? Let me just ask you. Do they? I actually don't know their company. Do they make better phones than like Samsung?
No, Samsung's still much higher market share, but they're up there. Xiaomi, they're
so why would we expect them? Why would we expect them to make better cars than Tesla if they don't make better phones than Samsung?
Let me turn to a Tesla bear and attack you on that point, because they could say the same about Berlin. You did a drone fly through in Tesla Giga Berlin, but you're not. It's been what, a year and a half, and you're not ramping to full capacity. What's the problem with Berlin? What's going on with the Europe demand that's not growing, Warren?
Well, I mean, the problem is that the global economy sucks. Fundamentally, the problem is just the global economy is in trouble. The global economy is really struggling, and we don't have a solution for that. People are making a big deal. What do they make in Berlin? They make the Model Y. What's the best-selling car in the world? Not the best-selling EV in the world, the best-selling car in the world, the Model Y. But you need people. You need enough people who can afford to buy your car, and they are, as best I can tell, they're selling as many as they can in Europe, and they're selling a lot, and they're probably exporting some from Europe somewhere, but they haven't developed export markets yet, and a lot of markets are struggling.
So point by point, you're not worried about Europe demand.
I don't think Europe. I think the future of Tesla in let's say that between now and 2030 is going to be the robotaxi network rolls out. It'll be in the United States and China first. Europe will be slow to adopt. Half of the United States will adopt quickly. Half the United States will adopt slowly. China will adopt quickly. Japan, I'm up in the air about Japan, whether they'll adopt quickly or not. But if you get the Chinese market and half the US market, it's going to take a long time to make enough robotaxis to fill that. And that's where the game is. And Europe drags its feet on everything. So I don't think of Europe as like, I probably would not have, like, personally, I probably would not have picked Europe as a place to build a factory, because I think the economy there's in deep trouble and the governments are in deep trouble. So I probably would have built a second factory in China, or, honestly, I think Thailand's a great place for a Tesla factory.
Thailand's great. Shout out to all the if any Tesla employees watching this,
build it near Keha.
Tell your boss, tell Mr. Elon.
Build it near Keha. I want to see a Tesla factory near Keha on the southern end of the Sukhumvit line. That's a great spot for a Tesla factory. So people who work at the factory, if they want to come into Sukhumvit to have some fun, they can come into Sukhumvit and have some fun. Cost of land there is less. Cost of housing there is less. You can get a nice view of the Gulf of Thailand from there. You can get to Pattaya if you want to go for Pattaya fun.
Yeah,
You know,
I think we talk about Bang Na, right? The end of line. I think Sumut Prakan
well,
is.
Teja is the end of the line, but Bang Na is on the way there. Yeah.
So if we're gonna jump there, the latest rumor is Tesla team did come to Thailand, and they're requesting to look at lands, but apparently Thailand we don't have enough they request such a big land that I don't think we have something that fits their need at the moment. That's the latest rumor that we heard. But not sure if you from your side or your source have you heard anything?
I don't have any sources on that. I mean, okay. I see stories all the time. Look, they don't need that much land. They need some land for the next generation vehicle factory. They need half the footprint of an existing factory. And what do you need? You need probably like less than a kilometer long and less than half a kilometer wide. So you probably need like half a kilometer by half a kilometer. Let's say. I don't think it's that hard to find that much land down near Keha.
Okay, I can't remember the exact size, but the size they're requesting for is kind of like put the Thai people in a bit of awe. Like, wow, that's huge. But anyway, you're right. I definitely, if Tesla is serious, I'm sure we definitely can find land that fits their purpose. Let's keep going through the list because people start coming in more and asking questions. Like this guy, Mr. 13 Brew, he's asking, will Tesla still develop the cheaper car? I believe he meant Model 2, Warren. So if the strategy now is Elon is focusing on robotaxi first, the big question mark is Tesla still going to do the Model 2 or their 25K car?
Please don't call it the Model 2. They told us years ago it's not called the Model 2. I don't know why people keep calling it
by Bloomberg. Bloomberg right here.
Bloomberg is worthless. Anybody who follows Tesla knows they specifically told us, I think it was at Battery Day, we're not calling it the Model 2. But people keep insisting on calling it the Model. They call it, as far as I know, they call it the next generation vehicle in-house. That's the term I've heard them use most, the next generation vehicle. They don't call it the $25,000 car. They don't call it the Tesla Compact. They call it the next generation vehicle platform. They call it the robotaxi. As far as I know, they're calling it the robotaxi vehicle. I think there's an open question. There's an open question. Are they going to make a human drivable version of this vehicle in the near term? Yeah. And we don't know the answer to that question yet. I think Elon said that the report that they were discontinuing it was false, but it was sort of vague. I think we're going to get some answers to that in the earnings call. We're going to get a lot more answers to that on August 8th. We know, according to the biography, that there was this ongoing battle within Tesla. Are they just going to build a robotaxi version, or are they going to build a version with a steering wheel and pedals? And according to the biography, Franz and Lars persuaded Elon, we really should do one with a steering wheel and pedals because we don't know if robotaxi will be ready. We don't know if the regulatory hurdles will be in the way. So if they don't think they're going to deliver, like they said, manufacturing will be late 2025, right? So if they think that we're not going to have a significant number of these ready for delivery until, let's say, early 2026, that's like a year and a half to get FSD running and a robotaxi network up. So, and the thing is, if you get I want to be very clear about this point. I think this is an important thing to understand. If you have a robotaxi network up and running somewhere, you have a car, you can sell it to a private consumer, or you can put it in the robotaxi network. Those are your two options, right? If selling it to a consumer means it's driven about 2 hours a day, putting it in the robotaxi network means it's driven, let's say, 12 hours a day. So you're getting 6 times as much use out of the vehicle if you put it in the robotaxi fleet. You're accelerating the transition to sustainable energy 6 times as fast if you run it as a robotaxi. You're making 6 times as much profit if you run it as a robotaxi as opposed to if you sell it as a car. If you are a long-term shareholder, you don't want them to waste their time making cars for private users once the robotaxi network is live. So the question is, you have to sort of triangulate and say, what are the odds that the robotaxi network is up and running in any meaningful way by early 2026? And what we're seeing with version 12 not so much how good version 12 is today, but how fast they're coming up with improvements, how much more compute they have, how much more data they have, which tells you how quickly they're going to solve these issues. I think that not just Elon, but a lot of the rest of the team have decided, yeah, we're going to get there before 2026. And if they get there before 2026, it's a waste of capex to build a car that you're not going to sell. If you're not like, and I will just ask you this question. I will ask people who are watching just a really simple question. Do you think Tesla should sell cars to individuals once the robotaxi network is live? And the answer to me is obviously no. Not for the mission, not for profit. People want Tesla to keep selling cars because I want to buy a Tesla. Well, buy it now. Buy it now. You might not be able to buy one in 2026. So buy one now.
But I have a question. So the questions for Warren to everyone, I typed it out for everyone, is: do you think Tesla should sell car to individual if robotaxi is achieved? Well, do you think the demand for robotaxi will exceed Tesla capacity? Because if it doesn't, then why not? Then why not put some version with the wheel on it?
The demand for robotaxi is effectively infinite.
But with
if you made 100 million robotaxis and they were used 5 times as much as a regular car, that would be the equivalent of 500 million vehicles, and the global fleet is 2 billion.
So you don't think it takes years to actually kind of like fill in those demand, whether it's regulation, whether it's kind of like some country, for example, Thailand. Like, let's bring a real example here. So Thailand, we have a big, taxi associate. A lot of people are a taxi driver that's we need to defend the jobs of the people, right? For example, so sometimes the government, despite lower cost auto taxis coming in, there is going to be some lag, and there's some issue to defend.
I think that the robo-taxi network will go live and take significant volume of vehicles in the United States first. Canada not far behind. China in that ballpark. And the thing is that if you're going to be able to sell rides in the United States for $2 a mile, which is $1.25 or $1.40 a kilometer, right? Which is whatever. The price of rides in the US is going to be so much higher than the price of Grab in Thailand that I don't expect that you have to saturate the US market and the Chinese market and the European market and the Canadian market and the Australian market and the Singapore market. There's a bunch of markets you have to saturate first before you're going to bother sending vehicles to Thailand and Malaysia and Vietnam and the Philippines and Africa and Latin America, because the price of rides currently here are so much lower. Like right now, if I go to get an Uber in the United States, I'm going to pay about $3 a mile, which is about $2.
My point is this, Warren. Like, for example, you started. Let's say we achieve, robotaxi, we achieve FSD level 5, whatever. But you have factories all over the world. You're gonna have one in India. You're gonna have one in China. So I mean, if you cannot produce robotaxi right away and ship it to US, is that what you mean? Like you're gonna stop selling cars in Asia, ship that back to the US? Like
every car you make, wherever you make it, should go into the robotaxi network, wherever you can put it in the robotaxi network. I think they will make cars in I don't think there's an India factory coming. I don't think it makes sense to build a factory in India. I think that I know there's reports left, right, and center. Will they build a mega pack factory in India? Sure. They're not building a car factory in India. I'm wrong a lot, okay? But it doesn't make sense for Tesla to build a car factory in India yet.
Shout out to Nick. That's his question. Nick, you have met Warren at dinner. The other time, he's asking about India. So Warren, that's a no for you. Speculation, no. And why is Elon flying to India then?
Well, I mean, he could be for the Megapack factory, could be developing supply chain, it could be for solar. There's a lot of things that you would do in India, but let's suppose Tesla comes up with it. Let's say everybody gets their fantasy Model 2 $25,000 car. How many of those could you sell in India? I mean, the average Indian car is like $10,000 US. At $20,000, you've priced almost everyone out of the market. At $25,000, you're not selling that many cars. You're going to build a factory that makes 1 million, and the next generation vehicle factory will be half the footprint, twice the volume. So you're going to be pumping out more than 1 million cars a year. you won't be able to sell them in India. India's market is not big enough to support $1,025,000 cars a year. It's just not even close. So, Thailand, if you build in Thailand and you export to Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries, might be big enough, because Thailand people buy $25,000 cars, right? But in India, there's just not that many $25,000 cars sold, right? You guys have all these pickup trucks here. Like, I love Thailand. Like, it's just so refreshing to see people buying these Ford Rangers and Isuzu D-Max and Toyota Hilux. I see I keep seeing more Teslas and BYDs on the road every day, and Nettas, and Thailand, despite the fact that people in Thailand feel their economy is struggling, like, it's a hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to be before I got here. Yeah. This is a really to me, this is a thriving economy, and so when you combine the Thai, Malaysian, Indonesian, Vietnamese, Filipino markets, plus probably Australia and New Zealand, like, Thailand is a great place to build. Like, I don't understand the idea of like building a car factory in Thailand and in India. They don't have any money. They're broke. They're poor. They're dirt poor. I was in one of the nicest parts of India in the state of Goa. They're still poor. Like I went to Songkhla. I went to Chumpon. I've been to Lopburi. Yeah. I haven't been to Isan. I guess I was technically in Isan briefly because I was in Nakhon Ratchasima, right, for like an hour or so. I've been to like the relatively poor parts of Thailand. The poor parts of Thailand are wealthier than the wealthy parts of India. Right? So like they're not buying Honda Cities. Right? The Honda City is too expensive for the India market.
Yep.
Right, and the Honda City is an inexpensive car, so
that's why they needed the one that you hate, the Model 2. That's why they need the compact. It would work well there.
Well, where's the market for this $25,000 car? It's not the U.S. because Americans don't buy small cars, right? We want big pickup trucks. And big
India and China.
Not India. India doesn't buy $25,000 cars. We can rule that out right now. China, yes.
What? So sorry.
Europe,
so your point.
Europe, yes.
You said they're poor, but why wouldn't they be buying $25,000 car in India? I mean, that's
because they don't now. The market for cars in India is extremely small. A large share of people can't afford a car. You've got 1.5 billion people, but 90% of them can't afford a scooter.
I'm gonna have to look it up, but okay.
The Indian car market is roughly the size of the Japanese car market, but the value, the price of the vehicles, in terms of unit volume, they're comparable to the Japanese market, but in terms of price point, they're much, much lower.
Okay, so they're selling 4 million cars a year.
Yeah, but they're like little tiny cars. They're like smaller than...
You're saying it's even smaller than 25K, you're saying.
What's the most common non-pickup truck in Thailand?
But anyway, so Warren doesn't believe in Texas. I mean, Giga India. So we'll see about that, and then see how the meeting with.
So the Toyota Yaris is the most popular non-pickup, and then the Honda City, right? Right. Well, how many Yarises in cities do they? And those are much less expensive.
Okay. All right, understand. We still have a lot of questions coming in, but Warren, before we take up too much of your time, I'm gonna shoot you with this one very important questions. I was in your space, Twitter space the other day.
Let me just pause you for a second. The Honda City sells in Thailand for the equivalent of 16,000 US, about 600,000 baht. So about 600,000 baht for a Honda City. I think a Toyota Yaris is probably in the same ballpark, around about 600,000 baht. That's $16,000. So the low end of the Tesla compact would be $10,000 more than that. You're talking about like, 25,000.
But will the shape and the form of
you're talking about over 900
bigger?
It'll be over 900,000 baht for one of these cars. Like, they don't buy those cars in India. They don't buy cars that are that expensive in India. They just don't. Like, I'm not saying zero, but it's like you can't make 1 million cars a year and sell them in India. And where do you export them to? Pakistan, Bangladesh? Pakistan probably doesn't accept imports from India. Does India have a history of exporting cars to anywhere? Do they have the infrastructure?
You're saying that in China would be enough, right, to cover the ex-India market? You're saying from China and maybe somewhere in Southeast Asia, like Thailand or Indonesia, would make more sense to cover those markets outside India.
Car exports from India go to South Africa, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Chile. I don't know. I just don't think that the India, and who want, like, seriously, if India started selling cars and you had a chance to import a car from India, would that make your list? Like, if you were shopping for a car, you're like, hey, let's buy a car made in India. Like, I think there's going to be a prejudice against India-made cars. They're going to have trouble exporting them. I mean, it's got a Tesla brand on it, so maybe that's going to be okay. But you know, now you're building it for $25,000. Now you're going to sell it in some other country. You're going to have, you know, shipping costs and, you know, tariffs. Now it's going to be like $28,000, $30,000 in these other countries. It's just not. It's not competitive. Where I think if you're in ASEAN, if you're in, you know, Thailand, you've got basically good trade relations with your country, other countries in Southeast Asia. Then, you know, there's a viable market here. Not to mention, you make a pickup version of it. Make a pickup version of the compact. That'll sell like hotcakes here.
All right, understand. I get your point now. We should discuss more about that, and then maybe after we see Elon's meeting, you know, we probably get more information, and then maybe we discuss about that. We should keep talking for 3 or 4 hours, Warren, because the share price, although you don't look at it, we're back to green now. We're trading on 150.
It's because of me. It's because of this conversation. We've inspired the market to every time I go on YouTube live, the stock goes up. It must be me. Like I need to do more live streams to boost the stock.
You cannot sleep, Warren. Especially the market open in nighttime in Thailand, so we're gonna keep you awake. But anyway, let me shoot your important questions, because the other day on live stream you had a long discussion on this topic, which I'm not sure we ever gonna find the real answer. But at least we can help the Thai people who's even further from the information and maybe a bit lost with the news that came out about Tesla management leaving the company, you know, and the headline on the news media that come out from Bloomberg, Reuters is quite severe. And the Thai media does write exactly word by word on what it come out. And it looks very negative from the Thai media out there that Tesla just lost 2 of their executive because the sales are slowing. Tesla is
where's the because coming from? How do we know what the because comes from?
I can screenshot you Thai news, and then I'm gonna have you translate.
But I follow this stuff live on X. I've been paying attention to stuff. There's no because.
This is mainstream.
Drew Baglino did not say I'm stepping down from Tesla and retiring or resigning because sales are down.
Let me finish my question, and you can take over, Warren. The media said exactly. This is exactly. Tesla sales down. Elon Musk cut 10% of the workforce, including 2 long-time management, left the company.
Well, we don't know that he cut them. Drew Baglino.
That's why I'm throwing it to you, because Thai people are lost right now reading the Thai, and you're closer to the source. Maybe you have more information. You have an extensive discussion in space, so please share with us, why did the management leave, and how do you feel about the situation of the leaving of the management?
Well, let me start with this. I met Drew Baglino in person. I have a T-shirt that I used to sell called Baglino Fan Club. I believe I'm one of the 2 members of the Drew Baglino Fan Club. I love Drew. I think Drew is a great guy. I think he was a great leader at Tesla. Rohan Patel is the other guy who left. Rohan wasn't involved in manufacturing. He wasn't really involved in sales. He was a political guy who was helping, you know, negotiate with other countries or work with the government in the United States. Baglino was with Tesla for 18 years. So I don't see that being a big deal. Let me address. The question is, why did Tesla cut 10% of workforce? And this is one of those things where you need to understand Elon. Okay, Elon didn't cut 10% of the workforce because sales were down. Elon cut 10% of the workforce because every once in a while you need a system shock. You need to shake things up. Like when he cut Twitter's workforce 80%, right? Did Twitter fail? No. Sometimes, and I think his saying is, you want to cut so much that you realize later there's a few people you shouldn't have cut. If you don't cut enough people, then you got to prune the tree. You've got to, and it's hard to identify who's the dead wood, and the managers don't want to fire anybody, so you have to put pressure on the managers to say, all right, we need to clean house a little bit, and you shake things up, and it's a system shock to the organization, and the organization adapts. And it's like going to the gym and you work out, because I go to the gym all the time. You probably saw that video of me working out of the gym. When you go to the gym and you work out really hard, you actually tear muscle, right? And the muscle has to rebuild itself. When you really strain hard to learn something, your brain actually suffers a little bit, and then your brain has to reroute and relearn. Neural nets have to remap. So they cut 10% of the workforce because it was time for a system shock, and also because Tesla is changing. I believe that Elon has decided we need to change the organizational structure because the plan going forward is changing a bit, and we don't know what that is. I think we're going to learn on the earnings call, or we're going to learn on August 8th, or maybe he's going to play it a little closer to the vest than that. But my sense is that they are changing the direction of the company in a meaningful way, and so cutting 10% of the workforce is a system shock. If you don't clean house every once in a while, you end up bloated, and he doesn't want a bloated organization.
I understand that cutting forces is good, is healthy for the long term. You replenish and get the younger people, people is more fresh. But the main question was, did he do it because the plan, kind of like the expansion plan, didn't go as planned? Was that the reason? Like they thought the sales might be growing faster, they're hiring more people into manufacturing, but at the end they failed to deliver the 50% growth, and that's why they had to take a different path. Is there a negative in the sense that cutting workforce twice? I mean,
I think they've done it. They've done like large cuts in the workforce multiple times before. I think one time it was 9%, one time it was 6%, something like that. They
2022, right? 2022 was 9%, or 9 or 10, and then now
it's like every year. I think he does this almost every year. This was a bigger one, but I think it's just Elon is looking at the future of the company and saying, okay, we've been a car company for a long time, and we keep saying we're an AI and robotics company. And if you're going to be an AI and robotics company, then maybe the structure, the organizational structure you have for being a car company isn't the right structure for the future of the company. So that's my sense of it. I want to address quickly. There's a question from Ashiraya. Can Waymo compete with Robotaxi in the US? From your big fan on X. No. Waymo's problem is two problems. One, it's difficult for them to scale what they're doing beyond a certain number of cities, because they have to do high definition maps of every city that they're going to operate in. They're not developing the real world artificial intelligence that Tesla is developing, because they don't have enough vehicles generating enough data, and they probably don't have enough compute to process it if they did have that much data. And then their cost structure, their cost per mile or cost per kilometer for ride is too high. Like they're probably more expensive than Uber in the terms of their actual cost structure, where Tesla's cost structure is going to be 1/10 of that. So they can't compete on pricing. And frankly, how many fan videos have you seen of Waymo? You see fan videos of FSD all the time. How many fan videos do you see of Waymo? Have you seen any? Seriously, Chris, have you seen any fan videos of Waymo?
No, obviously not. Yes.
I've
seen the angry fans that was burning down Waymos.
No, I mean, I keep hearing the competition is coming. The competition is coming. Where are the competition's fan videos for their amazing self-driving software?
I didn't
They're not
I
there.
didn't ask on this because I personally don't believe Waymo is a competition to Tesla. That's why. But yeah, but good answer to Ashiraya.
And then can I address another one? Chali asked the question, would the sales be better if Tesla has more than 2 Models 3Y on the shelf? And if it's better, why don't they make more models variation? So first of all, you have to ask yourself the question, what is Tesla's goal? Is Tesla's goal to sell more cars today, or is Tesla's goal to develop a robotaxi for the future? And variation, one of the things that Tesla does really well is they build a really, really large volume of vehicles without a lot of functional variation. There's only a few colors. There's not many options. You get BMW and they make like the 3 Series sedan and the 3 Series coupe and the M3 and the 3 convertible and the X3. And they make a whole bunch of vehicles that are slight variations, but they don't get volume. So when you get the high volumes that Tesla gets out of its factories, you get really big economies of scale and you're able to lower costs. And if you decide, okay, we're going to make 10 models instead of 2, well, now you've got to spread yourself thin to get those vehicles produced. Your cost per vehicle goes up. And as Elon put it, at least until recently, they were battery constrained. If they came out with a new vehicle, they wouldn't have enough batteries for the vehicles they're making now. So I suppose it's true now that they're not battery constrained, so it would make sense to have another model. But then there's the question, well, what model do they need? What model should they be producing? And Tesla's not in this to produce like a smaller version of the Model 3. They're in this to engineer the best vehicle they can possibly make. And the next generation vehicle, they're probably going to make 5, 6, 7, 8 million a year. So if you came out with another vehicle that was like a variant on Model 3, you'd have some CapEx for coming up with a new variation. But if that vehicle, like Model Y sells, I don't know, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5 million vehicles a year. Model 3, probably 1.2. Model 3 sells like 500,000 vehicles a year, right? So what's the next vehicle going to sell? 200,000 a year? That doesn't move the needle. And if you're gonna, the more variety you create, the more you're going to increase your cost per unit, and the more you're going to increase your CapEx on low volume vehicles. And then you've got a more complicated supply chain and a lot more complexity going on, and it doesn't go with the mission. The mission isn't sell more cars today. The mission is accelerate the transition to sustainable energy.
Understand. I agree on those points. I don't think we have any more questions on why no more variation. Yeah.
No, and engineering the next generation vehicle is hard. You're trying to get a vehicle that's much lower cost to manufacture, probably going for greater efficiency. They're going for zero cobalt, zero or near zero rare earths, zero or near zero silicon carbide. They're trying to reduce like certain things that are expensive in the manufacturing process, and there might be shortages, and you might be dependent on China too much for that. So if they can make those improvements, then they're able, and 48 volt and all these other things. If you just said, let's take a Model Y and make a slightly bigger one or a slightly smaller one, there's still a lot of CapEx to that, and there's not that much gain from it.
Understand. Yeah, Warren, I totally agree on that, and hopefully that answers Charlie question. ขอบคุณนะครับคุณ Charlie. ขอบคุณครับ Yeah, let me get back to the earning call because we used up a lot of your time, Warren, and I really want to get a clear answer on the earning call.
I have lots of time. Just to be clear, I have lots of time. You're not bothering me at all.
All right, because it went back to red again, so we got to keep Warren online. Okay, so Tesla earning call. I think Wall Street really want to hear details on what will be revealed on August 8th, or what's the timeline and things on the detail. But let me ask you, this time, will Elon just gonna come out and just start saying that, sales don't matter, we're focusing on autonomy, FSD, we're going all in on that? Or is he this time somehow will give more details, at least on the timeline of the August 8th, or even kind of like comments on the sale, or admitting like what number will be this year kind of thing? Like, you think there'll be any different version of Elon we're seeing in this earning call?
No, my prediction, like first of all, I don't know. My prediction is that Elon is not, like, you can see like Dan Ives saying this is what Elon needs to do in the earnings call. And every quarter, the Wall Street analysts say this is what Elon needs to do in the earnings call, and he doesn't do what they want. He doesn't. They don't run the earnings calls based on what do the Wall Street analysts think we need to say, right? I do think that Elon is going to communicate to the audience, which is us and Wall Street or whatever. We're making radical changes in Tesla, and we're compromising short-term sales and profits, margins. We're not gonna go bankrupt. We're not gonna lose money, but we're gonna go, thin, so that we can prepare the company for the next phase of growth. And he said that we're transitioning from one phase of growth to the next, and there's going to be some, some hardship, right? I don't, he said it's not a bet the company move. He was there.
Yeah,
I think Omar said, it's a bet the company move, and Elon said, well, we're not really betting the company, but we're going balls to the walls for autonomy. And I think that, they're going to buy more chips. They're going to build more dojo chips. They're going to push out generate as much data as possible so they can train the models as quickly as possible so they can get FSD working well enough. And I do think, by the way, on the earnings call, on the earnings numbers, they may do some additional revenue recognition from FSD beta, and that could actually pump up the earnings per share number. And then Wall Street will decide it doesn't count.
Okay.
It doesn't count if they anything that they do that's positive doesn't count. It's only the negative stuff they can come up with that counts. That's the way Wall Street approaches Tesla.
So it doesn't sound like you think this earning call will fix any concern, and you don't think the current momentum will change after the earning call. You don't think?
I think that he will give guidance that will make sense to those of us who are long-term investors. I think he will say some things that will give us a sense of here's the direction we're going, and this is why we're going this way. And long-term investors will get it. People who are not planning to sell stock in the next 3 weeks, people who are not trading on calls and puts and options, people who are not buying on margin, people who are like, okay, if he's going to say, look, it's going to be a ride, but we're making great progress towards getting there, and Wall Street will not like it. That's my prediction. Wall Street will not. But with that said, Wall Street will not like it, and the stock will fall 3%, and then the stock will go up, 2% the next day.
Okay, but that's good enough for me as long as he give us detail on the direction. If the stock falls, but Elon is very clear, and we can estimate the risk of what he's doing. Don't have to speculate on what exactly he's trying to do. Then I think that's good enough for the long-term investor. And if the stocks keep lowering because of that, we can decide if we want to increase the share or not. I like that better than
Let me address a few things I see here. First of all, somebody's asking the question, where do you think Tesla will bottom at what price? I am not the person to answer questions like that. I think there's a substantial chance that Tesla stock will fall significantly and it could go below $100 a share. But bottom, I have no idea. I don't play those games. I don't worry about timing. When I have free cash, I buy stock. I thought I was going to find out my free cash situation a few days ago, but my accountant said since I'm living effectively in Thailand, my taxes aren't due till June 15th, so I'm waiting on that. So I'll know what my cash situation is in a couple months. And when I have free cash, I'm going to buy Tesla. I'm probably going to buy Tesla stock. I have some other things I want to do with the money. Chang Q Park asks, is Tesla planning to sell Cybertruck in Thailand? I don't think so. I think that it would be difficult to make Cybertruck, if you look at the Isuzu D-Max and the Toyota Hilux and the Ford Ranger, they sell for in the ballpark of maybe $30,000 US. Does that sound about right? Like $1 million baht? They probably
for what, Cybertruck?
Yeah, the Isuzu D-Max. It probably comes in under $1 million baht, right?
Oh yeah. Around average of a pickup truck, probably around 1 million. Yeah.
So 1 million baht. So Cybertruck currently is selling for in the ballpark of 2 or 3 million baht. I think it's 3 million baht right now. And I think it will come down to 2 million baht. So, I don't see a way of selling that in any significant volume. And also it's very wide by Thai standards. It's significantly wider than the D-Max or the Hilux.
Average is 700,000 per million. Yeah.
Just in case
Average.
anybody from who's not from Thailand is watching, like from the US or whatever, we're talking about Ford Ranger class pickup trucks are very popular in Thailand. They're smaller than an F-150. So the Cybertruck is roughly the size of a Ford F-150, and you don't see those in Thailand. So I do think there's a chance that Tesla will make a smaller pickup. Thailand is a really good market for pickups. And I think in my dreams, they will find a way to make a pickup truck version of the next generation vehicle platform so that they're able to get to a price point close to $1 million baht. And then an electric pickup truck that's close to $1 million baht would sell like hotcakes. Selling hotcakes is an American thing, would sell fast.
Sell fast. We understand that. So you're saying that the new platform here for robotaxi, for the cheaper car, whatever, you expect Tesla to build a lot more variation based on this new platform they're coming
Well,
up.
they've referred to it in the past as the next generation vehicle platform. They've told us that there's at least 2 versions of the vehicle coming. But it seems to me that, and they've said in the past that there's a China design studio, and the China design studio would make, China variants of vehicles. So I think that in the United States, a small sedan like the Toyota Corolla or the Toyota Yaris or the Honda City, they don't sell. If you're trying to sell cars, which again, if we're going to a robotaxi world, this doesn't matter, but those cars don't sell. So if you make an SUV version in the United States, it'll sell. And SUV versions are actually kind of popular in the rest of the world too. And then, will there be some kind of van version? Like I think a small cargo van type version. There's something called the Ford Transit in the US, which is a fairly high Ford Transit van. I think there's like a smaller van format that would make sense. I think they'll make a large van. I think there's a lot of things coming. Oh, average truck price in Thailand, I can get a truck for 700,000 baht.
Yeah,
baby.
That's the rate I just looked up from Google. But probably, like you said, smaller one, maybe. Not a truck expert, but that's the average price range that people are buying.
Yeah. So Supercorn asks. Sorry, let me just address.
Okay, go ahead.
Supercorn asks, how can Tesla gain market share back from BYD? Tesla has not lost market share.
That's my point. I was going to say, I have a few questions on the earning, but anyway, we can go to Chinese EV first because we have a lot of questions on Chinese EV. Let me just wrap them all up and ask you at once. And I just want to let you know that this is a great chance for Thai people to actually get to speak to you, Warren. So thank you so much for doing this. And as you can see, we have a lot of Thai fans that have questions on.
Sabaidi.
Yeah. Great. ขอบคุณมากครับ. And all these questions coming in. Just want to share with the US audience that currently in Thailand, we have BYD and all the other Chinese EV that importing in and competing with Tesla in Thailand. So they may not get the Thailand EV landscape, but BYD and Chinese EV are selling like hotcakes, if that's referring to Warren's word. But Tesla is selling just all right. So the perspective of Thai people, they're seeing that the Chinese EV oversell Tesla. So don't be surprised with the questions I'm about to bring it up here because the Chinese EV are selling very well in Thailand versus Tesla. So Kun Supakorn asking, how can Tesla gain market share back from BYD?
So the answer is
I'm going to ask it all because a lot of EVs, Chinese EV, Warren. I'll just wrap it all up. Yeah. So Shukiat asked, no excellent strategy, no market for Tesla. Motosu asked, say, Xiaomi building competitiveness versus Tesla. Okay, maybe it's not better. Yeah. Apishad does say Tesla is not better than BYD from now to forever. Mr. 1816, I have Tesla stock, but I would like to buy Chang'an car. Okay, so fair argument or not.
Is that the Deepal? Is that the Deepal S07?
That's the Deepal. Yeah,
that's a
nice car.
Nice looking car.
Yeah. Well, I think I see a few.
There was a question about whether the Xiaomi car was better than the Model 3.
Yeah, I think there's one. I can't find them all, but yeah, Warren, fire away. So in Thailand, a lot of people experience Chinese EV and they're selling the sale number going up. So what do you think? Is Tesla losing market share or not? Go ahead.
First of all, globally, Tesla is not losing market share to anyone. Tesla is gaining market share. Both of them are gaining market share from gas cars. last quarter BYD sales fell. So if you're going to say that, I don't believe that Tesla or BYD are gaining share from each other. They're gaining share from. This is a long battle to replace gasoline cars with electric cars. And Tesla and BYD are literally working together. BYD is a supplier to Tesla. They supply batteries to Tesla. So the idea that there's this popular notion, it's very popular, it's not just here in Thailand. There's this popular notion that Tesla is competing with BYD. Tesla and BYD are competing together to remove the gas cars from the road. And they are both growing. On average, they are both growing, and gas cars are shrinking. So we're winning. The mission, Tesla's mission is not to beat all the other EV manufacturers. Tesla's going out of their way to encourage other EV manufacturers. The mission is to get rid of gas cars, to transition the world to sustainable energy, and gasoline cars are not sustainable energy. Electric cars are. So I think that there's an interesting question that I don't have a great answer to, which is Tesla, is the strategy to increase sales in the short term, or is the strategy to get robotaxi going and generate and basically get to a world where we're not selling cars? And this is there's a question here. Like, I think you and I talked before we went
Yes.
live here. I was down in Songkhla and Hat Yai, and I saw a few Teslas, but there's no Tesla store anywhere south of Bangkok. There's one Tesla store basically in the entire country. Bangkok is a city of 18 million people. There's more than one Tesla store in much smaller cities in the US. So why aren't there more Tesla stores in Bangkok? And why aren't there more Tesla stores in Japan? And my gut says,
Let me share a perspective before you share your guts. Thailand, we have 70 million people. We're not a small country. We sell domestic demand of cars a bit 1 million-ish per year. But Tesla has opened store in Thailand for about a year and a half now, and we only have one store. What's your guts, Warren? Why? Why one store for a million car per year sales?
So ask yourself this question. If you were running Tesla and you thought in 3 years we won't be selling cars to customers anymore because every car we make goes in the robotaxi network, would you invest in additional sales facilities and additional sales employees now? And the problem is that you're going to have, when you invest to build a sales center, right, there's a certain amount of capital that goes into it. And you have a return on invested capital that comes from that investment. So does that facility generate enough revenue and profit to make up for the cost of setting it up if it's only going to sell cars for 3 years? I'm not saying I know this is the strategy. I'm saying I noticed it when I was in Japan and I noticed it here. Why isn't Tesla building more stores to sell more cars? And I think the answer is because they don't expect to sell cars for that much longer. And so the CapEx required. Now, I want to be clear. You guys are seeing Tesla's not selling that many cars in Thailand, although it's certainly growing in Thailand. It's actually really, it's worse in Japan. For some reason, they just don't sell a lot of cars in Japan, right? But if the strategy is we're going to develop robotaxi, and they said, we're going to develop robotaxi, and why are we developing robotaxi? We're developing robotaxi because we're going to stop selling cars or we're going to start selling rides. The business of the company in the future is selling rides. And they're probably if you ride on a Grab, you go 10 kilometers, it costs 150, 200 baht, right?
Then the question is, how close, Warren? How close are we to that? So that the Tesla decide not to invest in another store, how close are we into selling the rides instead? Because if you have to wait 10 more years, maybe it's worth it to sell more cars.
If you thought that the robotaxi network wasn't going live for 10 years, you would be selling cars. But if you think the robotaxi network is going live within 3 years, then you're probably going to stop selling cars to individuals within 3 years. There'll be exceptions, right? If they make a Roadster, they'll keep selling the Roadster. They'll probably keep selling the S and the X. Maybe they'll sell the Cybertruck for a while, right?
Here's where I think I see differently because, like I mentioned, I think in the US, I agree. Robotaxi within, let's see, best case, 2 or 3 years, you think? Up and running, right? 2 or 3 years.
3 years.
Robotaxi in Thailand. 2 years.
I think it could be 2, but let's call it 3.
Okay. So let's say it's 3 in the US. I believe it takes more than 3 years from the US starting to adopt in Thailand. So 6 years. So I think for sure this 6 years will not be robotaxi in Thailand. Because,
okay, but wait. Suppose you manufactured a car in China and you had 2 options of what you could do with that car. You could put it in use in a robo-taxi network in China, or you could send it to Thailand and sell it to a consumer. Okay, so let's look at let's imagine we're just talking about the United States and Thailand. Let's leave China out of it. Let's just imagine the United States and Thailand. Imagine there's no tariffs. Okay, I make a Model Y in America. Okay, I can put it in robo-taxi use. It's going to generate $50,000 a year in gross profit. Okay, 1.8 million baht a year in gross. No. Yeah, 1.8.
I understand your point. So you're saying that
hang on. If I can put that car into robo-taxi use in America and I make 1.8 million baht per year in gross profit, or I can sell it in Thailand for 1.8 million baht.
You're not going to sell it.
Yeah. What's that?
Obviously, you're not going to sell it. Yes, correct.
You're not going to send any cars to Thailand. You're going to put all the cars in the robo-taxi until you have saturated the American market for robo-taxi, driven down the price of the rides to the point where now it makes sense to start selling rides, not selling cars in Thailand. You're going to start selling rides in Thailand once you get the price point of the robo-taxi rides low enough to compete with Grab.
So I get what you mean. So the reason why I said after America 3 years until it's saturated, whatever, the reason I believe it takes more than 3 years because first of all, the FSD need to learn the road in Thailand, which won't be long because AI will be so smart by then. I believe that. But the regulation itself, and like the Thai people need to defend, the taxi driver things kind of thing. I think it will be kind of ugly and take years. But to your point, let's say you believe that Tesla.
I gotta stop you for a second. Do you know that Thailand has one of the highest traffic fatality rates in the world? The highest number, one of the highest number, the road death rate. I just found this out recently. The road death rate in Thailand is higher than most other countries. It's one of the highest in the world. Okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
Is it more important to you to preserve taxi drivers' jobs or save lives?
Obviously, to save lives, but I'm not the lawmaker, right?
Do you think the people who run Thailand are more interested in saving jobs than saving lives?
I actually personally cannot comment on that, but I think we know where you're going with, Warren. Yeah.
Maybe we don't have free speech here, and I think this is true in other countries too. This isn't just Thailand. I think this is true in the United States and parts of the United States. If you believe that your government should want to save lives, and I
support robotaxi. If you ask me, I support it, but
I will not get on a bike. I won't get on a bike in America, right? I won't get on a bike in Thailand. I see people. I see like a family of four, like a father, mother, and two kids on a scooter. I see all these girls getting off the BTS train system, and they hop down, and there's some guy on a bike, and they hop on the back of a bike with a strange man and drives them around, whatever. It's unsafe. It's probably not great for women to hop on the back of a motorcycle and grab onto a strange man, right? They probably don't really enjoy that interaction. So I think there's a lot of details about the system that we have today in Thailand that is not really ideal. And I don't think that the drivers have a lot of political power. I think this is the key. I think that in India, there's this taxi mafia that literally beats Uber drivers up if they try to operate, right? And in Japan, the taxis are owned by politically connected people, and so they're able to keep out competition in Japan. Although in rural Japan, there's such a shortage of workers in Japan that they don't have enough people to drive the taxis. So, but the practical reality is it's going to take a few years. And once you have robo-taxi up and running and saving lives in America, and then Tesla comes over to Thailand and says, hey, we're ready to start running robo-taxis here. This is what we're going to charge per ride. I would hope that the Thai people would let their government know, we would rather have fewer people die. We would rather have fewer serious injuries. I hope I'm answering that question. So you just put up a question. It seems to be too many good projects. How does Elon maintain his focus and prioritize what moves the needles for the share?
Let's not change topic, Warren. I mean, that's not like we should stay on this. But I agree with you. But let me say, Kun Aw, that's her name's Aw. Let me say that question. But Warren, I agree with you on the point of robotaxi. I do believe that we should support robotaxi, but I'm just saying that it's not going to be like that easy. That's all I can say. It's not going to be like, okay, look at the data. It saves lives. Let's save lives. I'm sure in Asia, it's quite slow to progress the change compared to America. I think that's a fact. And
I think it's true that many governments don't care to have cleaner air or safer roads, unfortunately.
But let's focus on the point. But the reason is, let's say if you're running Thailand, for example, let's focus on Tesla and just Thailand. And back to your argument saying that if you're not going to sell cars for the next whatever years, it's not worth it to go to open a store, right? So my point is, maybe particularly in Thailand, you can't just hope for a robo-taxi to be that early. And I hope Tesla management knows that. That's my point, first of all. And second of all, which I'm going to ask you is, there's other model that you can sell more car without investing in sales office, is maybe outsourcing to a dealer, which I know Tesla doesn't do that. But to your point, okay, it's a no, but actually, if your plan is to sell car for the next 5 years and then stop selling car after the next 5 years, that's actually the best model. You're outsourcing it. You're not investing yourself in it, and then you can do a 5-year contract and then see how it goes. And then if you still need to sell more car, you renew the contract. I mean, what do you think? What's your thought on that?
I think that Tesla might continue to sell cars in low volume in Thailand and some other Asian countries to maintain a footprint, to make people aware of the brand, so that when they're ready to bring the robo-taxi network here, they'll bring the robo-taxi network here. But no, they should not use the dealer model. The dealer model is, Tesla owned stores is fine. The dealer model creates transactions costs that are not helpful. And again, if you're not going to sell cars, why do you need dealers? If your long run plan is to not sell cars but to sell rides, what's the purpose of having dealers?
To boost short-term sales and then fully utilize your capacity. I mean, if I'm going to argue on this, I do feel like Shanghai capacity should not be reduced, to be honest. I feel like there's so many things Tesla could do to boost sales in China or to boost sales in Asia countries.
I think that, if you use the dealer model, you're increasing costs because you got to pay the dealer, right? The dealer costs more than just having your own stores and online sales. So I don't think that's a good approach. If you increase costs, you got to increase the price of the car, you're going to reduce profit. So and then you also create the problem that the dealers sometimes are not aligned with the company. You see a lot of conflict in America between dealers and manufacturers.
That point I agree. It's just a genuine concern for me that they let the sales number get to a point where Giga Shanghai is running at reduced capacity. I felt like maybe there are things they could bend on some country, maybe using dealer model in some countries. I don't know. That's just my view, is that somehow if they were still running full capacity and they're selling cars, I agree totally that they shouldn't use dealer model. But yeah, that's just my thought. But I
don't think that in the real way you sell more cars is you get the price down and you deliver more value for the price. And they are not able to the fundamental way in which the Model 3 and Y are built limits their ability to lower cost, and they need the next generation vehicle to bring down to a next lower price point.
Okay, that point I understand. But back to China a little bit, Warren. I have some friends there, and they're saying that Tesla somehow, it doesn't seem like they're also expanding 100% on it doesn't seem like they're trying to increase China's sales somehow. Like they could open more stores similar to Thailand, but they choose not to go, all over the country. So in terms of China, which is a much bigger market than Thailand, you still feel the same that Tesla is using the right strategy on not opening more sales.
I'm speculating on the reason that, like, when I got to Japan in August, and I was traveling around Japan and I was living in Nagoya, Japan, and I noticed, boy, there's a lot of Toyota dealers here. Why aren't there any? Why is there only one Tesla store?
Yeah,
right? There's one Tesla store in Nagoya, which is a big city. There may be 2 Tesla stores in Tokyo. I don't know. There's not very many. I think most major cities in Japan have one Tesla store, and you'll see like 20 Toyota dealerships or 30 or 40 Toyota dealerships. If you want to sell more cars, to people, I think you need store locations, whether you call them dealerships or not. And I think my gut is Tesla's made the decision in about 3 years, we're going to stop selling cars to consumers. Every vehicle we make is going to go into robo-taxi service with some limited exceptions, right? The business of the company.
Like that. It really feels like that, yeah.
The business of the company is not going to be selling cars to consumers. And if the business of the company is not selling cars to consumers, then it doesn't make sense to expand a dealer network and build a dealership that will be irrelevant in 3 years. You like, if you decided to open a business today, you're going to invest money on your office. Maybe you're going to invest money on some manufacturing equipment. If you knew in 3 years the business was going to end, you wouldn't make the investment. You're investing in a business like that because you're hoping it's going to pay off for 10, 20 years. And if you've decided, 3 to 5 years from now, we're not selling cars, then maybe you don't make the investment in building sales facilities and hiring sales staff. That's, the long run plan is to sell rides through an app.
Okay. So let me switch my question a little bit. So I agree with you. I mean, I don't agree, but I understand you that maybe they shouldn't open more. But with the current situation in China, do you believe that they will not lower the price anymore, right? And with that, with the economy situation, will you believe that Giga Shanghai will be coming back to full capacity sometime this year or not?
I don't have a crystal ball for the economy. I think that Tesla could lower prices in order to drive more sales. I think they've done their own math and they've figured out this is the optimal way. Like, we could run the factory, full out and produce more cars and reduce our prices, but we wouldn't make more profit if we sold the higher volume of cars. We would probably make less profit selling the higher volume of cars at a lower price. And we have enough cars to generate it. Like, the real purpose of having the cars now is really not to make money, but to generate data, to collect and generate data for FSD to be trained. Because once you solve, I think people just don't grasp this. Once you solve robotaxi, everything changes.
Okay.
It's a radical change in transportation, first in the US and then China and then some European countries and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, whatever. It'll spread throughout the rich world first, and eventually it'll spread to countries that are not as well off.
Okay. Warren, let me ask you another question. Because a lot of investor that follows you in the US probably has never seen Tesla store in Thailand or travel to Japan. Has the real experience of traveling in Asia and seeing how Tesla operate in Asia, which I feel like it could be different than in the US. Has that helped you with the thesis or understanding Tesla better at all, or somehow would it raise? Yeah.
What stood out to me was the fact that they weren't opening more locations. That pushed me to this view I have now, which is they've decided we're not going to be selling cars for that much longer. But it's not like you go into a Tesla. I've been to Siam Paragon's showroom like 4 or 5 times. I don't think that's significantly different than a showroom in America.
Warren,
right?
What if I ask you this? That could be the reason that they don't plan to sell? Or what about, have you thought about it that maybe the management in Asia is not as capable as in the US?
No, I think that's highly unlikely. I think you have very talented people in Japan, very talented people in Thailand. I think you might be overestimating the quality of the sales team in America. I actually think there is sort of an inferiority complex that people in some Asian countries have, that they think Americans are somehow better. And look, I've met lots of Thai people. I've met lots of bright, hardworking Thai people. I know lots of lazy, not bright Americans. I think that I wish that people in countries like Thailand recognize we're just as good as they are, because you are just as good as we are. And
thank you.
And in many ways, I would say, in some ways, I would say better. I mean, our American culture is falling apart. I see American culture falling apart. Here in Thailand, it seems like men still know that they're men and women still know that they're women. I know there's some lady boys, but generally speaking, men know they're men and women know that they're women. The lady boys actually know that they're lady boys. They don't think that they're actual women. In America, they sort of think they're actual women. You probably don't let lady boys compete in women's sports. right? Like you don't have a lady boy in Muay Thai fighting women, right? Am I correct?
We have that, yes.
And we just had some protests in America where people are chanting "Death to America" in America, and I doubt you have people chanting "Death to Thailand" in Thailand, right? So I think that you have a lot of good things going for you, and I don't think it's that at all. I think it's that there's a practical decision that the cost of building out the sales network to sell in high volume in Thailand or Japan or Malaysia or whatever is high, and it would pay off if you were going to continue selling cars for 10 or 20 years. But if you think you're going to stop selling cars to consumers in 3 to 5 years, it just fundamentally doesn't make sense. Thailand is the only country in the world with a Tesla Experience Center. Is that the one in Siam Paragon?
No, the Experience Center must be the one that we went.
Ramkahen?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's the only one in the world, really. But
I don't know. That didn't look that much different from what I see at a Tesla place in America.
Okay. Maybe Brian, you can elaborate on that. Is it the Ramkahen one, or is it the only one in the world? Are you positive on that? Warren, should we? I have one more question before we go to the Kun all questions about Elon Focus. Is the compensation package? Let's talk about that. Because I think Nick sent me your tweet today that you're saying that is there a chance that this payout package could fall out, and is there a chance that Elon just gonna be I don't know, exiting the company? Like what's the situation? What's your thought on the compensation?
You want to see the stock price fall? Vote against the pay package and see what happens. I think if the vote goes badly, I could see Elon leaving Tesla. I think it would make sense for him to say, all right, if I'm not going to be paid for my work, I'm going to go work somewhere else. And he's got plenty of other places to work. He doesn't need to be at Tesla. Tesla will be fine without him, better with him, but they'll be fine without him. You don't have, if you want to pursue revolutionary change, you need a strong founder leader. If you don't have a strong founder type leader, then you're not going to be able to pursue revolutionary change, and you become an ordinary company. And then if you think the stock price is low now, you wait to see what happens to the stock price if Elon leaves the company. Yeah. And then who's going to lead Tesla if Elon leaves? What direction are they going to take the company? Are they going to do what other people said? Oh, they're going to make a version of Model 3 that's like a Model 2 or whatever. They'll probably make a Model 2 and call it a Model 2, and then it turns out no one's going to buy them because you've lost what's special about the company.
I understand.
You're not going to 10x sales volume with an ordinary CEO, right? The only way you're going to 10x sales volume, the only way you're going to 10x, like I think they're going to 25x gross profit within 7 years or so. The only way you're going to get that kind of happening is with a strong founder CEO. And if the shareholders vote to say no on Elon's pay package, then I think Elon says, okay, fine, I'm stepping away from Tesla. I'm going to focus on my other companies. I'm going to develop AGI at XAI and X, and I'm going to keep working on rockets at SpaceX and work on Neuralink. And he doesn't need to put his time into Tesla anymore. And then you think the share price is low now? I think we go below $50 a share if Elon leaves.
For sure. I mean, for sure. Especially the question.
I think it comes back. I think it'll come back. I think there are. I mean, losing Drew was a big shock to me because I thought Drew was the backup. I thought Drew was the natural to take Elon's place. I don't know who takes Elon's place if Elon leaves.
Yeah. Quick one. Any chance you believe Drew and Rohan will come back? Is it just a rest, or is it?
Well, I have a theory that Rohan is a political guy, and the 2024 election is coming up. So I have a feeling that Rohan is going to be getting involved in maybe the Biden campaign or maybe some other political campaign. He's a very talented guy. My gut hunch is he gets hired by a campaign and makes a couple $1 million doing that kind of work for the rest of the year. And then does he come back to Tesla? Maybe. I don't think he needs to. He moves on to some other company and he'll do well with it. Like I know Rohan. I've met Rohan. I've exchanged messages with Rohan. I think he's a great guy. But yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, is there a chance that Baglino comes back to be on the board of directors in a few years? Yes, but not. I don't think he's going to come back and work as an employee. Now, if Elon left, I think Baglino would be the perfect CEO replacement. Will he still be available at that point? I don't know. JB Straubel could step in as CEO, I suppose.
So you're saying that currently Drew is similar to JB, where he steps out, maybe do his own thing or whatever, and then returns as the board. But return as a CEO is probably difficult because if you're not running the company while Elon is at the helm, then you're probably not going to be catch up to the speed, right? I mean,
Drew would probably be up to speed if it happens within 6 months. My expectation is that Drew Baglino and Zach Kirkhorn will get CEO jobs.
That's what we all thought.
They will get CEO jobs at other companies. I'm surprised that Zach doesn't have one yet. I mean, maybe that Zach just made so much money he doesn't want to work anymore. I think Zach left the company with about $500 million. So I think he's done. But Drew is really, really strong material to be like CEO type for a company that is doing significant technology.
Lucid?
No, that's not a significant company. I mean a Fortune 500 company. I mean a Fortune 50 company, to be honest.
Okay.
I think Drew, has managed a whole bunch of things and managed them well, and he's not going to go on X and post about politics. He's more of a fit for what you want in a CEO. Understands manufacturing, understands a lot of the technology stuff that needs to be done. He'd be a great CEO in a lot of places. I don't know that he wants that job, but I think he does.
Okay.
Or maybe he does his own startup.
I believe
maybe
it'd be great.
Maybe like JB, he does his own startup.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if he does, then look forward to it, and hopefully it can kind of links back to Tesla eventually. Because redwood material, I believe if they grow, then they can actually link back to Tesla, right? There's a lot of battery to be recycled. So
there's an article that just came out about redwood materials that they're doing 20 gigawatt hours a year of battery recycling. I didn't even realize there was that much batteries available to be recycled, but they're doing it. So, but I don't think, Tesla has its own battery recycling. I think Redwood is working for others.
Oh, Tesla does have its own battery recycling?
Yes, it's in the impact report.
That's new to me. How are they doing on that progress? Because I haven't heard much.
It's in the impact report. They're doing well. But again, there's a short. Tesla batteries last long enough that they don't have a lot of batteries coming in. I think there's battery materials when they're manufacturing batteries and Panasonic and Giga Nevada and Fremont and Giga Texas. I think there's some battery materials that, like, there's batteries that, like, let's say they have a 95% yield. It means 5% of the batteries are no good and they have to be recycled. So I think they're recycling the materials that get wasted in the manufacturing process. And I think they've said they recover about 95, 96% of the minerals from the batteries.
Yes, that's great. Yeah. I haven't heard much about that, but that's a great yield, and hopefully they can scale as well, because I mean, doing it in the lab and scaling is probably two different case, as you can see. And I'm surprised the redwood material is not aimed to recycle for Tesla, because with JB as a board on Tesla, will the other car company wanted to use his recycled battery? I mean, it seems a bit odd that any other company wanted to deal with him.
I think that Tesla already has their battery suppliers, and they're. I think the Redwood Materials factory is close to Giga Nevada. I mean, I think that they cooperate in some ways, probably, but as far as I know, Tesla does not buy battery materials from Redwood yet. Maybe they do, but then you'd have the conflict of interest question of, is there a conflict of interest for a board member of Tesla selling stuff to Tesla? So then you'd have a potential conflict of interest problem. So as far as I know, they're not selling to Tesla.
Okay. All right. Well, we can live without Redwood at the moment if Robotaxi does come to fruition. So anyway, Mr. Brian did say that the Tesla Experience Center is all the things in one, like showroom, service center, paint center, delivery area, spare parts, car storage, all in one. So
a typical Tesla facility in America, like the one in Cape Canaveral, not Cape Canaveral. What is it? It's basically Cape Canaveral, is a showroom, service center, car delivery area. There's room for storing cars. I don't know how much cars they store. I don't think they have a supercharger at that location, But they have a lot of that stuff. And I don't know where the body and paint center is. They don't have a lot of body and paint centers yet. But, Thailand, you've only got one location for the whole country. So you got to have everything in the one spot.
There, he said he haven't seen one in America, maybe.
I haven't seen, I don't know what experience center means. I've certainly seen large Tesla stores in America that have a bunch of stuff.
Maybe just the Thai marketing getting creative using the word. That's good. It sounds good. Anyway, Nick, if you have any more questions for Warren, we're closing this up soon, I think, because it's almost 2 hours. I don't want to disturb Warren.
I'm getting tired.
So please throw out your last question, Nick. But we did have this question to be sorry. I want to wrap up this question, Warren, because it's actually very important. Because you mentioned that if things fall through, if Elon exit, it could go below $50. So what's the chance of this happening? Can we see like who has the majority of the share right now? Obviously, it's Elon, who's in second, third, or fourth. What's their view? Who can vote for this?
Elon and Kimball will not be voting on this. They recused themselves from the vote last time. I believe they're recusing themselves this time.
Oh, wow.
I believe over 40% of the shares are held by institutional investors. I think Kogwan Leo is a large shareholder. He's pretty clearly said he's going to vote no.
No meaning what? No meaning he doesn't want Elon.
No to the compensation package.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So the retail shareholders will largely vote yes. The institutional shareholders are probably going to be decisive. I believe T. Rowe Price has basically said they're going to vote yes, and they're a big one. But there's institutional shareholder services. A lot of American institutional investors vote based on what they're told by something called institutional share services, which Elon jokingly refers to as ISIS, as in the Muslim terrorist group.
Okay.
And the odds are that they're going to recommend voting against the compensation package. So there's a chunk of shares that will vote no. And then the retail
How can we
investors,
track this, Warren? How do we track? Like, what's it real time?
I don't know what I don't worry about it. What's going to happen is going to happen.
So even if you know for sure that
if the stock falls to $50 a share, I'll buy more.
But if you know, the reason why I'm asking is because if you can track this, obviously we can see a lot of the movement. By the way, I think that's enough for another time maybe. But it is definitely an important day to note, everyone, for June, right? This is in June, so it's in 2 months' time.
No. What's in June? Oh, the vote.
The vote, yeah. Yeah, it's in June, right? So okay, we'll keep everyone posted.
I think it'll probably pass. I would say there's like an 80% chance that the vote goes through in favor. But you see the haters, the Elon haters, the Ross Gerbers, and saying, oh, I'm going to vote no. And like Ross was like raving about the package like 3 years ago, saying what a great, back when we voted on it, Ross was saying what a great thing it was. A few years ago, he was saying what a great thing it was. Elon earned it, blah, blah, blah. And now he hates Elon, so he's against it. The guy has no sense. So now he doesn't control that many shares. I think anybody who's thinking that they want their shares to go up in value is going to recognize that if Elon doesn't get his compensation package, there's a really strong chance he leaves the company and the stocks will tank. So
it's kind of like automatic. People who's holding the shares got to go with yes kind of way. Yeah. All right.
If you want your stock to go up, vote yes. If you want your stock to go down, vote no. I don't know many investors who want their stock to go down.
We're voting yes. All right. All right. Let's wrap this up, Warren, because do you want to answer this question for Kun this one?
Yes. So I would encourage people to read the Walter Isaacson biography of Elon. I would encourage people to read, there's a blogger, the name of the blog is Wait, W-A-I-T. I'll type it in the chat. It's W-A, connect. Sorry. Man. Oh, right. So like you're making me press like 1,000 buttons to get this done. Okay, so I'm in the chat now. So there's a blogger whose name is Wait But Why. I would look for that blog. It's an old series of blog posts where he has like a 4 or 5 part series on Elon. There might be actually another post or two outside of that. And then there's also the book Liftoff by Eric Berger. And then there's the biography, the recent biography by Walter Isaacson. If you want to understand Elon, you should probably do your homework and read these books. It's hard reading if you're not great at English, but it's good English practice. You know, you're not going to, if you're Thai, you're not going to get better at Thai by reading stuff in Thai. Your Thai language skills, like Chris, you're probably not improving your English that much, right? By Wait But Why, that's the blog.
Yeah, that's the one.
So
right.
if you spend your time reading things in English, you will improve your English a lot more. If you read stuff in Thai, you're probably not improving your language skills that much. So I highly recommend reading the Wait But Why blog posts on Elon Musk. There's a series on Elon. The book Liftoff by Eric Berger, which is about SpaceX, but still very insightful, and the recent biography by Walter Isaacson are all great things to read to help you understand the way Elon thinks and the way Elon does things. And that, you know, shaking up the company with a 10% layoff, that's just a classic Elon, you know, shock the system move. He does these moves once in a while. He goes into demon mode or whatever. And yeah, that's the Eric Berger. I've read that twice, and I also listened to the audiobook once. So like when I say do your homework, like I do my homework. I read the Walter Isaacson biography the day it came out. I downloaded it and I read it in 2 days. And it's long. Like it's long for a good English reader.
Yeah.
I'm very good at the English language, like better than the average American by quite a bit. I'm a lawyer, right? And it was a long read for me. So if you're Thai and your English isn't spot on, it's probably going to take you, you know, a few days, 4 or 5 days to read that book, but it's worth it. Wait But Why posts are long, but they're worth it. Liftoff is a compelling story about the early days of SpaceX. Really, really compelling story. A lot of color, a lot of great stuff. So
who's Eric Berger? Is he involved in SpaceX?
He's an aerospace journalist.
I see.
Space journalist.
Okay. So how much of like understanding Elon is important to be in Tesla investor? Because you keep the reason why I asked because Kun Ahn asked about how Elon manages all the company, but it seems like you're trying to answer is if you do understand Elon, then you're not going to be worried about.
Let me address this. So first of all, Elon does not prioritize what he does to move the needles for the shareholders in the sense of trying to adjust the short-term price of the stock. Elon maintains his focus on many different projects, and like it's a special skill that he has that very few people have. I would go with the theory that he's actually an alien from another planet, but he is able to work, 100-hour weeks where most of us struggle to work a 40-hour week. And he manages his time very effectively, and he doesn't waste time on the small stuff and works on the really important stuff. And when he's working on something, he's focused on it, and then he moves on to the next thing, and he's able to change focus quickly. And he's just able to get a lot of work done in a day, where most of us, we get one thing done during a day, we're like happy with it. Elon, really drives himself to get a lot done. So I think he maintains his focus by being in the moment on whatever he's working on. He's got Neuralink. He's got the boring. I don't think he puts a lot of time into the Boring Company or Neuralink. I think he's putting a fair amount of time in XAI and X, obviously, in Tesla and SpaceX. But he built Tesla and SpaceX together, and they were both very, very demanding companies. And he did that then. It's like, I don't know why people think something has changed. SpaceX pretty much runs itself now. He just shows up for some engineering meetings, as far as I know. I don't think he does a lot with SpaceX anymore. Boring Company pretty much runs itself. He doesn't spend a lot of time with that. So it's, X, I think, has taken some time, but Linda Yaccarino's taken over a lot of the running of that company. So that's good.
That's great. Yeah.
I think the other thing to recognize is Elon builds great teams.
So why does people on X complain that Elon spent a lot of time on X when they actually have a now real CEO? So you mean I think we should recognize the real problem is that Elon spends too much time on Tesla and he needs to focus on X. I spend more time on X than I do in a Tesla car. I want to see X improve. I'm joking, but people are upset. Like, well, he's spending too much time with these other companies. Like, well, no one complained when he was spending a lot of time at SpaceX, right? But all the tweets, let's say just as time he spent tweeting himself, that's all him, right?
Hey, the guy's got to take a poop. The guy's got to, what do you call it?
But it just seemed like
count by a few times a day, right? So,
but with all the tweet he likes, the one that he retweet, like how does he able to find all of the? I mean, that's not the time from just going to the toilet. It does seem like he does spend a bit of time.
I think it's probably when he's going between one meeting and another, he looks at his phone and he sees something, the feed shows him whatever it shows him, and he's got his algorithm tuned to him, and he finds stuff he's interested in, and he responds.
So a lot of things on X you shouldn't read between the lines, because sometimes back in the day people on Tesla thinks that Elon is trying to leave you Easter egg, but it's really not, because he just really have time to think about it. He just does things like out of instinct, right?
I think he thinks about some things, but by and large, I think he's just reacting to what he sees.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is great having Warren. By the way, Warren, you can see that all these comments coming in. You have a lot of fans in Thailand now, and hopefully we can do another event like this, and maybe even host a real one, at maybe Siam Paragon, or even at Tesla store.
I love it. I would love to do an event. Pom Gamlan Niam Pasa Thai Krap. So we'll see how much better I get.
Okay.
And
last thoughts, any last words for the fans, please?
No, I would just say the future is bright. There's lots of great things happening. The world's getting to be better. I think we can look forward to a future where a lot fewer people die on our roads, where our air gets cleaner, where our transportation gets cheaper, where we are able to cure brain disease, and we're able to reduce traffic problems, and we're able to go to Mars, and AI will start solving a lot more problems for society, and life will be wonderful. Life is already wonderful. It'll get even better.
All right. Thank you, Warren. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And hopefully we'll do this more. And for today, both of us are going to say bye. Thank you, everyone. Catch you soon.